Now that we've created our Raptor portion of this particular example program, it's time to go ahead and do the Python portion. Now Python, the Python portion, is going to be a little more detailed and it may feel like it's a little more difficult. The reason is because we're working in a real programming language. We are writing code that is going to do real stuff as far as the computer is concerned. Grant you, Raptor does do, if you will, real things, but you will never take Raptor and compile a program from native Raptor files into a project. You can ask Raptor to generate code for you that can later then be compiled into a project or into executable files. But Raptor itself is incapable of doing this. We're going to use what is known as Python. Now, if I click on Python, it's going to open up what's called the Python shell. And the Python shell basically gives us access to the interpreter. For example, if I say x equals 5, like this, what I just did was I told Python to take the number 5 and store it in the variable x. And if I want to see what's actually in the variable x, I can type in x and I hit enter and it'll tell me 5. If I want to, I can say the letter y and hit enter, and what do you suppose it's going to say? Let's see. It comes back and it gives us in red, which I call bleeding all over the page, a nastygram that says that there's a name error. Y is not defined, okay? We can, if we want to, we can define y as a string, like so, and then when we type in y, it'll come back and say my string, okay? But you'll notice there's nothing here that you can quickly see that gives us a clue as to how in the world we're going to actually put a bunch of statements together to write our program. But what I did want to show you for sure is that this little interactive shell that we have is worth its weight in solid gold, because you can run cool little tests on commands or on statements in Python to make sure that they do work, all right? But how do I get the program thing to happen? Well, it's actually easier than you think. What we'll do is resize that window just a little bit so I have more room. And if I come over here and say File, I can go New File. And what it did is it created a window, if you will, that will allow me to insert my code in Python, okay? And since I've gone through the trouble to create this, and right now it's untitled, I'm going to go File, and I'm going to come down here and say Save As, and I will navigate to, says this PC, why didn't it open up? Go on down here to local drive C, go down here, there's my example, and let's see what happens if I just click on that. It didn't do it. That's okay. So what I'll do is I'll just say, sometimes it'll copy the text. Like on my Mac it does, it copies the text, but obviously in Windows 10 it doesn't. So I'll go Broderson underscore David underscore example. Actually, I don't need to do the David part. I can just go example. And once I've done that, I hit enter, or come back over here and make sure it says Python. Yes, I'll do save. And now, if I look at my folder to make sure that we are good to go, iOS 115, example, I have a backup, which happened from Raptor, so I'm going to click that right now and delete it. But there's my Broderson example.py, okay? So I know that it's there, it's ready to go. Because you don't know Python and you don't know what all of the statements do, it's very, very important that you write lots of comments, okay? It's also very, very important that you include what's known as a header comment. So what exactly are these comments? Well, if we go over here to Google Chrome, type in dbroderson.com comments, hit enter, it's going to take you to Introduction to Commenting Code. Now this introduction page, this first page, is very important to you. It'll help you to understand what comments are about, but the details of commenting, the correct way in which to comment, is provided under Python. So if I click there, syntax. Syntax is the way in which we write something. English sentences, for example, they're written in a specific way so that when somebody speaks at us or speaks to us, or we read a sentence, we understand what it means because of where they stuck the nouns, the verbs, the participles, and all of those wonderful things, okay? Programming is the same way. There's a syntax. There's a way in which we write things. So we want to make sure and use the correct syntax. Well, we're going to make life easy on ourselves. I'm just going to ask you to use hash symbols, okay? Python has a way in which you can comment out a block of code. For example, this is a single line comment. It is called a single line comment because it occupies the entire line. Here, or below, is an example of an inline comment. An inline comment usually, or is always, next to whatever the line of code it is. For example, I have R is set to 5, and then I have a comment that says why R was set to 5. The reason that R was set to 5 is I wanted to set the radius. So clearly R involves a circle or an arc of some kind, all right? Down below, I have what is known as a multi-line comment, and we're not going to deal with multi-line comments until after the midterm, so you don't have to worry about this part. Here, though, we have the assignment header comment. This is what I wanted you guys to look at. If you click here and then go to the end of this little line here, you can Control C, copy the comment, and then right here we can do Control V, and we've now pasted our comment, the header, into the file. So why on earth would we paste all that stuff in there? Well, one of the reasons is it lets me know what assignment you're working on. The other reason, it lets me know who you are, for sure. It lets me know what your goals were and all of that stuff. In other words, this helps to keep you very nicely organized in terms of what your code is going to do, all right? So the program assignment is, I'll just go ahead and say number 0 because it isn't an assignment. And here I'll say rectangle properties, because that's basically what we're returning. We're going to input the length and the width. We're going to get the area and the perimeter back, which are in fact properties of a rectangle. This is going to be called example.py, and I'm going to get rid of these little brackets because I just put those in there so that you would know that that information is to be changed. I'll say given user input of length and width, calculate area and perimeter, area and perimeter. Well, as you can see, I extended beyond that, so what I will do is I will just simply do that, and I'm adding spaces until it lines up nicely. We'll put a period there, okay? The course number is going to be IS 115. The professor, my name is the due date, whenever, I'll just give one, a fictitious one, 01, 01, actually I don't want to put in those extra spaces, so I'll just go 01/01/2001 there. Now finally we have the author. Who wrote this program? Well, you did, right? And what revision are you working on? Well, 90% of the time the revision for student assignments is the date, but if this is your first attempt at the program, you can just say 1.0. And if you have to make a minor change, you can say 1.1. If you have to make another minor change, you can go 1.2. If you have to make a major change, you would go 2.0, okay? And then, of course, the current date, which is today's date, because that would be your last edit. Date of last edit, that's a better way of saying that. Okay? Now that we've done that, the next step, just like our pseudocode reads, is to go ahead and create a space. And I'm going to use 3 hash marks, and I'm going to say input so that I can mark down an area in this file that I'm going to use to handle all my input commands. And then I'm going to do processing. And I'll go output. Okay, so I don't have any idea how long. Oh, I guess I got 10 minutes into this thing, so I still have 5 minutes before I've hit the 15-minute mark. So how do I get Python to do input? Well, the easiest way to answer that question is if you just double-click Google, and up here you can see Python input, just like so. And down here it's going to tell you, say, input and output, hands-on Python tutorial. Looks pretty good to me, right? Is it telling me what version of Python? It doesn't, but it looks like it's going to work. Okay, so it's giving me some ideas how to write this code. So we'll close that down. I like what I saw. So I'm going to say L is equal to input quote, please enter the length. Notice I'm putting a semicolon and then a space, like so. And now I'm going to save this. The reason that I'm doing this is because I want to run it. I've written a single line of code and I want to see if it actually works, okay, or if I haven't created some kind of a problem. So let's go ahead and see, how do we run this thing? Oh, there we go. We have a thing up there that says run. Pretty straightforward, huh? So we run the module and it comes back and says, please enter the length. And notice that there's that nice little space between the end of the prompt to the user and what have you. So I'm going to type in 4. Now, here's what's really cool. It ran the program, but this Python shell in here remembers what the program did. So if I type in the letter L, it comes back and tells me there's a 4. But I want you to pay real close attention to the notion that the 4 is in little quote marks, okay? We may have a problem there. So, since I've done that, I'll say that's the length. W is equal to input, quote, please, uppercase P. Enter the width, close quote, close parenthesis, okay? And we now know for sure, we're pretty sure that that's going to work. Wouldn't hurt to run it. So we'll do a save, run the module. Please enter the length, I'll just say 6. Please enter the width, and I'll say 2, just like we did before. Hey, that's looking pretty good, right? So now under processing, I'm excited. This is really getting somewhere. I'll say that area, I'll make myself a little comment. Okay, input up here, I'll say a little comment to myself. Comment get length and width. And since these work and I don't have to enter anything in between them, I'll just do that. And here I'll say comment, calculate area. And the area is going to be equal to the length times the width. And then I'll say calculate perimeter. And I'll say P is equal to the, 2 times the length plus the width. And I've done a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and run this. 6, 2, and it crashed. So what I'm going to do now is take a real quick break because I'm running out of time, and we'll come back for the next segment.